A big test for teams getting right is the transfer window. Guys, 1st of January means that the transfer window is now open. And we're going to hear all of the conversations. We're going to hear about quality players. We're going to hear about people who must be sold, who must be brought in. We're going to hear about the changes that must be made here and made there and done here. Hey, we're going to hear about the player. All of us are going to be putting together our fantasy teams. Teams must play a 4-3-3 and you must bring this one and play that striker and play that one and do. Hey, there's a lot of things that are going to happen in this transfer window. But I want to talk more about the process of the transfers. Because I think that is something that we forget about when we get into these conversations. And when I mean the process, I feel like when we speak about the conversations of the people that were signing and not signing and this and that, we're so focused on the price, the stats, we're so focused on those type of things. And rarely do we focus on team fit. It goes back to the conversation I'm having. We've had in this podcast about the coaching changes at different teams and how Cape Town City is doing it. Abo coach, Nabo Chipa United, Abo Kwanele Kopo. It goes into the conversation we need to have now. Because there's a worrying thing that I hear all the time. I'm a Chiefs fan. So I hear all the time, hey, we need quality. Oh, quality players. These guys are not quality. These guys are not up to, they're not Chiefs material. These guys are, hey, that's Yakuluma, man. Then we speak about the players that we want to bring in. This one is going to be quality, that one. But nobody actually speaks about, guys, will this player fit with everything that we need to do? With the club, with the formation, with the coach, will they fit? There's no such thing as quality players. It does not exist. There's no such thing as completely adaptable players. It does not exist. There's players who play in systems that play towards their strengths. That's all. Guys, half of the players that we call great and all of that stuff, look at their histories. Some of them have struggled at different clubs because the club was playing a different type of football. Some of them have struggled at clubs because some clubs don't play towards the strength of players. Look at what happened with Abotebza. The moment coaching changed, we started asking questions of Mokoena, our star players. We speak about the quality of Sundowns players. Look at what happened and how they struggled. Some might say are still a little bit struggling right now. Guys, this whole football thing boils down to the systems and the structures you create. Do you know why Chiefs doesn't work? Why Chiefs doesn't work is that we sign players on whatever's trending right now. I might date myself here, but guys, remember the old Kaizer Chiefs. I didn't know who David Obua was. I didn't know who Collins Besuma was at the time that he was signed. We didn't know half of those, in fact, most of those players we didn't know. I'd even go and argue that we didn't want some of them when they came. Remember the buy two, get one free things that we used to do go Zimbabwe. Abo Sweswe, Abo Jambo, Abo Nengomasha, Abo Zbam. We didn't know these players. But yet you could trust that the work was being done behind the scenes to make sure that the players fit. Guys, half of the people that Sundowns are signing, they're not signing a name that is already big. They're signing an up-and-coming person who can fit into the club, who can fit into the play. They will become stars. Masebalap. So why do we go into transfer windows thinking that these unicorns of players exist? Again, I'll use Chiefs as an example. It's a unicorn player who can adapt to the style of play, loves the fans, loves the pressure, understands the game, can think for themselves on the pitch, can change things single-handedly. Hey, how many of those players exist in real life? In real everyday footballing life that we watch, how many of those players do we truly have? Because Ronwen doesn't look incredible unless Rulani says, hey man, you're actually really good at playing the ball with your feet. Ronwen, when facing crosses, stutters a little bit. He's not as fluid. But the system has catered for him. Sorry to interrupt the video that I'm sure you're enjoying, but I just wanted to say thank you for all of the support that you guys have shown me and my Overthinking Football platform. I'm a one-man band that's doing all of this, and I really do enjoy the comments about how, you know, Supersport needs to come fetch me and SABC and all of that stuff. And I think it speaks to the quality of the content, but also the amount of effort that I put in. So I just wanted to say thank you. But the truth is that Abo Supersport and all of those guys, yes, we're competing with them, but it's a completely different place. The sponsors are looking for former players, and to be honest with you, running some of these things is getting so difficult, and things have changed at home. So financially, it's a whole different world. So I wanted to try something new and come to the overthinkers, the people who watch the content, and say it would be incredible if you guys could contribute monthly towards the platform, towards keeping my lights on, but also making sure that all of the crazy things that I want to do, that I want to take Supersport on with, I can actually do. And just for 20 Rand every month, I think that would be an incredible contribution if you can make it. It may sound like a little, but if we can get a lot of people behind it, then we'll be able to carry on doing what I do. I'll be able to carry on giving you the content and also expanding it, because we don't have shows like this, and us content creators need help from our audiences. So I just came here to ask you if you can. Here is the account number that you guys can use in order to contribute. And I think, yeah, I'd be very grateful if you would. But anyway, let's get back to the video. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let me tell you about a team that's really good at this, that understands their signings. And not all team will be 100%. That I'm not going to praise them to that degree, but Orlando Pirates understands exactly what type of players I need here, 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 and here. And that's exactly what's coming into the team. I know what I'm looking for. If you look at the profile of the players they're bringing in, think about Van Rooyen. Is Van Rooyen not very similar to Babunyane, to Libitso, to Shandu? Just maybe upgraded in terms of the things that they can do. I mentioned earlier, does Umfukeng not look very similar to a Lodge? Manyesa, very similar to a Tito. Striking, I mean, Pirates has had a lot of strikers that weren't out and out strikers like that. But Mabasa and Lipasa look very similar. Mahupa, you could argue, maybe harkens back to Abo Manenze, harkens back to Abo, you know, Abo Patela in that way. The way that they play is very similar. Not the same, similar. Year on year on year. So they've got continuity. They know what they're going to go get. When you look at Chiefs, guys, I'll say one thing. Two things, actually. Number one, no more Sundowns signings. No more people who have completed football and who are coming to retire. And again, I'm not saying they're bad players, but their motivations are different. Why they're at Chiefs are different. Why we need them is different. They look great in a system. CBD. Remember CBD? How dominant Castro, Billiat, and Dolly were at Sundowns. We even tried to recreate it at Chiefs. Didn't work out. So no more Sundowns players who are, and it's not even about the player, it's about the motivations. You're coming from a high performance place. You're coming from a place that holds you accountable. You're coming from a place where your money, your salaries come in, got bonus. You have to go win games if you want to make a lot of money. You have to go do things if you want to. Hey, they're coming from a place where you had to go fight with other people, where there's no celebrity there. Now you're walking into a Chiefs, and as good as you are, now it's like I'm a number 7 and people still love me. Yo, I've had 4 bad games and there's no one on the bench who can take my spot. Imali yami iyangena, noma sikunumber 9. Those are the things that we need to look at. And you need to go deeper. Number 2, I would love if Chiefs does not sign anyone this season. They need to sit back and think hard They need to understand what they're doing hard, because this patching that happens over and over and over again is not serving the club. It's not building the club. It's not taking the club to another place. You need to study and learn and research and put together dockets that you've been researching for months and months and months on these players. You need to know what your coach wants to play or what the team wants to play. You know what's funny? I always say that in scouting, you need to, especially for Chiefs, there's a psychological profile that needs to take preference over anything else. I see the play, I see all of that stuff. We speak about the kit being the jersey being heavy, the pressure at Chiefs. So that means when you're scouting, you need to look for people that are also who thrive in pressure, who do well in pressure. That should be one of your key things that you're looking for. I watch a lot of American sports. Everybody here knows. In the NFL, when they're doing the draft, there's something called the draft. The players come from college. They were playing in college in the universities, and then the teams get to pick the best players in order. So according to how you finish the season, you get to pick players. So essentially, the worst teams get a chance to get the best players in, and the best teams get a chance to find some gems. But as part of the process, there is a physical part where they ask you to run and do all of those things, and they put together your stats and they put together all of those things, which makes you look like a player. But then they do another thing. In those times when they're looking at these players, they have interviews with the players, where they sit down with the players and they try to figure out what type of person is this guy. They speak to their former coaches. What type of leader is he? What type of player is he? What type of character is he in the locker room? And then they also base a lot off of that. I'll give you an example. If you look at Kaizer Chiefs, the Kaizer Chiefs is very similar to the Dallas Cowboys in the NFL. Dallas Cowboys have not won in a very long time, but they're the biggest media team. So as part of the questions that they ask when they're drafting players and they're bringing players in, is to make sure, those questions that they ask, is to make sure that you can handle the pressure. That I can count on you to say the right thing when things are on fire. I can count on you to be a media darling. I can count on you to not get overwhelmed by the success of the team. So for example, that side, the bigger universities usually have similar crowd sizes. So you can count on those players to at least have they've got experience dealing with crowds. They look at the tape, okay, when things were going wrong, what was the player doing? What was this? What was that? And it's not to say that you're only looking for those guys, but sometimes you have to merge it with the team. So playing for Sundowns is a completely different question than playing for Chiefs in terms of the media, in terms of pressure. The pressure at Sundowns is internal. The noise from the outside does not infiltrate that team. So the pressure you have to worry about is, I'm looking at my coach and I'm looking at the players on the bench and I'm going, okay, I need to perform. There's a high standard here. The pressure at Chiefs is, can you perform when the lights are on and the stadium is full? When you walk off the pitch and your phone is buzzing, notification after notification, when people are swearing at you and can you not let that get to you? And I'll give you an example. Umfundo is an incredible Chiefs player because he seems to love the pressure. He seems to accept it, absorb it. It doesn't make him smaller in the game. He wants to play more. He wants to do more. They feed off of that energy. That's a personality trait that you have to look at. Because on the same token, if you look at Untwari, for example, for all intents and purposes, a very good goalkeeper. But you could tell in the games that, it's a bit too much. Oh, it's so big. Oh, how do I catch this ball now? Oh, how do I do this? He was making so many mistakes that were just simply based off of him not being accustomed to that thing. And when I speak about the personality, it's not just about the loud players and the dribblers. It's also about the leaders. How do you lead a team that is in the limelight? How do you talk to the players that are in the limelight? How do you structure a team in the limelight? The example I always use is Patrice Motsepe, not the flashiest of players. He doesn't even make it into a lot of you guys' top 10 defenders ever lists and things like that. But for Chiefs, he was an incredible captain. Even taking penalties. Biggest penalties, he would step up, put it in. So when we think about transfers, I would love us as a country to think holistically about these things. Just because a player was good at one club doesn't mean they're going to be good at yours. Just because a player was good at one club doesn't mean they're not going to be great at another club, but it's more about how they play and what they do and how they fit. Can you fit into what we want to do? Sometimes the guys that we think are the stars and whatever, there's a guy maybe called Supersport who's quietly doing his job. And you know what Sundowns tends to do? They tend to find those guys. It doesn't have to be a rated 90 player. It doesn't have to be a loud player. It doesn't have to be, hey, like I said, the Chiefs used to bring us people that we did not know. Abo Serge Jua. Abo Patrick Mabedi. Nobody was crying about them. And maybe one of the big reasons, to be fair, is that the internet is a completely different place. We can go research these people like this. But when we speak about transfers and we look at transfers, guys, can we please take into account things that are outside of the stats, the noise, the notoriety? Can you find the gems? And for plenty of teams, Chiefs specifically, I think it's time to stop looking at the top end. You need to start looking at players that can become top end. Players that are going to understand what Chiefs is and where we want to go and what we want to do in the history of the club and all of that, where you can build on them. But sourcing off-cuts, as great as that off-cut is from Mamelodi Sundowns, as great as that player is, doesn't automatically mean they're going to come in here and do well. Just because a player has been on people's lips for a while doesn't mean they're going to go well. And up to this point, that's what we've been doing. And that's what a lot of teams do. It's very hard work to go and find the next good player. It's very easy to go and find, experienced player, and jiggy, that player's not giving you anything on the pitch.